NASA, the agency known for space exploration, also greatly benefits Earth and its inhabitants in profound ways. I want to tell you about a project named SERVIR that does just that. But first, let me set the stage. In the late 1960s, the Apollo 8 mission carried the first humans to orbit the moon. And as the spacecraft came around the other side of the moon, the astronauts were surprised and amazed at the view of Earth rising over the lunar horizon. The late nature photographer Galen Rowell called this image, the Earthrise image, the most influential environmental image ever taken. Because for the first time, humans saw the Earth not as an uninspiring map with state and country boundaries, but as a whole sphere of dazzling beauty in the void of space. This blue marble image inspired a whole new environmental movement. And since then, NASA has developed and launched a fleet of Earth-observing satellites. We use these satellites, and they've really transformed the way that we see our planet. We're researching the way that Earth behaves as a system in ways such as monitoring and predicting weather, measuring the ozone hole, and investigating climate change. SERVIR is a project that uses these same satellites and their unique perspective to help humans on the other side of our planet learn to better care for Earth and for themselves. SERVIR is a Spanish verb that means to serve, which is a fitting name for our mission. It's a joint project between NASA and USAID, using NASA's technical expertise with USAID's developmental skills to help countries and developing regions make environmental decisions about things such as forest conservation, water resources, food security, and disasters. Some of the specific ways SERVIR helps includes detecting forest fires in Nepal and sending text messages to the Forest Service so that they can know where to respond. Another way that SERVIR helps is by detecting frost for tea farmers in Kenya. And in Kenya, there's more than 4 million people who rely on the tea industry for their source of income. And frost can cause millions of dollars of damage. The SERVIR data tells these farmers when the frost is coming so they can take measures like spraying water on their plants and preventing the loss of the crops. Another way that SERVIR helps includes detecting algal blooms in the waters off the coast of Central America. Each morning, the fishermen get a map that shows them where these algal blooms, also known as the red tide, are, so that they can avoid fishing in those areas. This report has helped reduce the number of incidents of people who get sick and even die from consuming toxic shellfish. But it's not just about the map. It's not just about getting data from the satellites. It's much more than this. It's about helping humans on the other side of our planet have a better quality of life. And that touches me deeply, not just as a NASA employee, but on a much deeper level as a fellow human being. Now I want to tell you a little bit more about how these applications work, and I'm going to use flooding in Bangladesh to explain how we do this. So Bangladesh has over 160 million people. That's about half the US population. And they're living in the country the size of our state of Alabama. Can you imagine half the U.S. population living here in Alabama? 80% of Bangladesh is in a flood basin. Now, I grew up in Natchez, Mississippi, and that's a town on the Mississippi River, and so we have high bluffs and floodplains as well. But we know well in advance when the floods are coming. So people actually have time to take all the furniture out of their house if they want to, or even use sandbags to completely surround buildings to prevent damage from occurring from the floodwaters. But in Bangladesh, they also have a very sophisticated flood forecast warning center. But the problem that they have is that the rivers come into their country from India and China and Nepal. And these countries don't always share their water level data with Bangladesh. So the Flood Forecast Warning Center only sees the water when it comes into the country. And with that, they can only give a 3 to 5 day warning for people to safely evacuate. Now what SERVIR has done is use what we call the JSON-2 satellite. And the JSON-2 satellite has an altimeter on board that can measure the difference in ocean height to just a few centimeters, all the way from space. So SERVIR uses this same data to measure the river heights in the neighboring countries that feed the rivers into Bangladesh. And with this data, we're able to combine that with the Flood Forecast Warning Center's hydraulic model, and we're able to increase the warning time from 3 days to 8 days. This not only gives the farmers enough time to evacuate their families safely, but they also it gives them enough time to be able to harvest their crops and maintain their livelihood. Now, in August of 2014, our system was tested when a flood engulfed 250,000 homes in Bangladesh. And SERVIR's data set accurately predicted the flood 8 days in advance. In floods of this size in previous years resulted in over 1,000 deaths, typically. But last year in 2014, 17 people died, from over 1,000 to 17. Now, there's a lot of other factors that contributed to this amazing result, but the earlier warning that SERVIR gave definitely contributed to that. But even more important than all of these applications, and what really drew me to the SERVIR project, is the way that SERVIR helps others in developing regions pursue their passions in earth science. SERVIR's main goal is to teach scientists and organizations in these developing regions to use the NASA freely available data for themselves, to create their own applications, to solve their own issues in their own communities. And by teaching people in the region, that makes the whole region more sustainable for the long term. Now, since 2003, SERVIR has expanded to now serving 38 countries in 4 regions. We have over 90 partners and have developed over 60 applications like the ones that I've talked about so far today. Just 2 weeks ago, the NASA administrator, Charlie Bolden, traveled to Bangkok, Thailand, to open our newest hub serving the Mekong region in Southeast Asia. And we're planning on expanding to West Africa in the near future, and then in other regions as we continue. The neat thing about these hub organizations around the world, though, is how they work together. They learn from each other. The different regions come together and help each other also during times of disasters. And this was never more inspirational than this past spring when Nepal was hit with the worst earthquake that they've seen in over 80 years. this 7.8 magnitude earthquake actually raised the elevation of Kathmandu by over 1 meter. Now, SERVIR has a hub in Kathmandu called the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, or ECMOD for short. The Saturday of the earthquake, scientists right here in Huntsville immediately went into action, calling NASA satellite managers and commercial satellite providers, asking them to task their satellites to take images of the damaged areas in Nepal. Meanwhile, SERVIR was hosting a training session in Tanzania that happened to have some of the leaders from ECMOD there, as well as from the other SERVIR hub organizations. So that training immediately shifted over into the command central mode, where they were able to communicate with the ECMOD folks in Nepal to find out where the damage were, and then coordinate across the SERVIR network and with our other NASA scientists and other partners and organizations around the world. And even though the infrastructure was damaged in Nepal, we were able to come up with an innovative method to be able to get more than 23,000 high-resolution data images into Nepal. These images helped responders to be able to tell which buildings and which villages were completely destroyed, and where there were landslides that blocked rivers, creating new lakes that are unstable that could flood villages down the stream, and where there were roads that were completely washed out, isolating villages from the rest of the world and from the needed supplies and medical attention. These images helped responders become more effective in their response effort. Now, being a part of this project has been so inspirational to me, to be a part of this group that has made such a difference in the world. And there are some SERVIR teammates here in the audience today, and hopefully I'll get a chance to talk to them. But these are the true heroes of these applications and the stories that I got to stand up here and tell today. These people on this team have so much passion for our mission and to serve others in these ways. And it's just been truly amazing to be able to come to work with this group and to be able to help them coordinate across the world to make these applications come to life. These folks will continue to create new applications and to help new regions in different ways, along with USAID and our partners around the world. And NASA will also continue to research our Earth and learn more about it, and to provide inspiring images such as, I need to go back one. Oh, sorry. Such as this image that was taken by the Deep Space Climate Observatory this July. Now, I'm a huge Neil deGrasse Tyson fan, and when he saw this image, he commented, "We see our world as only a cosmic perspective can provide. Blue oceans, dry land, white clouds, polar ice. It's a sunlit planet, teeming with life, framed in darkness. Occasions such as this give me new confidence that we will ultimately become the responsible shepherds of our fate and the fate of that home that we call Earth." Thank you.